NVIDIA, big GTC next week. You're going.
Yeah, I'll spend some time with Jensen. I do think that NVIDIA's become a meme stock. It's controlled by these 2x ETFs and by the zero-day options. Most people think that can't be the case. But, when those are theoreticians, and I'm empirical. I don't like theory. I like empirical. And that has been my strategy since 77. I'm not deviating. You want empirical.
B of A today reiterates a buy 200, very compelling price, they argue. Is there any risk of Jensen disappoint? How would he disappoint next week?
He would disappoint by saying that that they have Rubin, their next iteration, and people are starting to skip Blackwell for the next one, which would then cause a freeze. But I don't think they're going to. That would be something that I don't think Jensen will say. I think Jensen's before this conference, you can't reach him. He's just in quiet. We don't know. So to speculate what he's going to say is to run the risk of really going against the Manhattan Project. You just never know what they're up to.
Right. By the way, as for semis, Jim, pretty remarkable number, 5% above the 200 DMA.
5%
in semis. I mean, if that's not a washout, what would you call it?
No, it is a washout. The semis are divided between the Internet of Things and telco. And the telco's been horrible. The poster boy's been Marvell Tech, where the numbers were actually quite good, but nobody cared. That's a stock that was cut in half. Broadcom down 18%. That's an incredible company that blew away the quarter. Texas Instruments didn't have a bad quarter. I mean, you go over these. Obviously, Intel, there's always a rumor floated every day. Now it's Taiwan Semi wanting their not-so-great fabs before Marvell is going to buy they're going to buy Altera, and then it was Silver Lake. I mean, may I suggest that they stop talking? They just should stop. I mean, like in Reuters, give Reuters something. Well, I'm waiting for the FT to say that any minute now Qualcomm's going to buy them after Qualcomm denied, and then Broadcom after Hock Tan denied. But people can say anything, and it's irritating. Maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the boy who cried wolf, and really there is something for Intel. But I think Intel's overvalued. But Intel's part of the problem in terms of the market.
According to management, NVIDIA's fiscal 2026 first quarter, which started in late January, would witness a 65% increase in sales compared to the same period last year. As the year goes on and it encounters more difficult comps, that remarkable rise is probably going to slow. However, in the upcoming years, new catalysts can speed up sales growth again. Among them is NVIDIA's expanding operations beyond data centers. Revenue from the company's gaming division rose by 9% in the previous year. Sales of professional visualization, including a new personal AI supercomputer, increased by 21%, while revenue from robotics and automobiles increased by 55%. Over the next 5 years, all of NVIDIA's ongoing projects could have a significant impact. It's a smart idea to heed Warren Buffett's suggestion and purchase this excellent stock while others are afraid, as shares are currently trading about 30% below their highs from early January. So, what implications does this have for NVIDIA's stock? Let's explore that. But first, a big thank you to those of you who've stuck with us this far. Creating these videos takes significant effort and dedication. So if you're enjoying the content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts on NVIDIA stock in the comments. Your support truly helps us grow. Now, let's get back to the video.
Potential growing threat to NVIDIA's dominance as the AI race shifts to an inference versus a training phase. Hyperscalers, we know they are developing their own in-house AI chips to bring down costs and reduce their reliance on NVIDIA. It's notable in this Gemma release that Google says its TPUs, its custom in-house chips, can achieve what GPUs can. And the worst kept secret in tech is that Anthropic widely uses Google Cloud and thus their TPUs for the majority of their inference. Amazon, too, has been making inroads for its Trainium chips through its own investment in Anthropic. This week, Meta began testing its first in-house AI chip. And of course, OpenAI has big ambitions here. It is pouring resources into developing its own as well. Startups are also gaining traction. Cerebrus's specialized AI chips, they're powering Perplexity's Sonar model and Mistral's chatbot. All of this raising questions over NVIDIA's dominance in this next phase, and questions over its margins, which is really amazing for a hardware company if other options are finding more efficiency and able to offer sort of better efficiency, lower costs. Now, NVIDIA, of course, you'll hear this often, it is an ecosystem, and Jensen Huang says its chips are just as powerful for inference as they are for training, But the economics are shifting. And even as spending from the mega caps remains elevated, Project Stargate promises hundreds of billions of dollars in data center spending. NVIDIA's share price is telling us a different story. It's certainly rebounding today, up nearly 6%, but it's down 15% on the year. Next week's GTC, guys, that will be crucial to the narrative. And, one of the number one questions on people's minds is, how they compete in this inference phase where there's a lot more competition.
Right, but we talked about with Jim this morning what Jensen could likely say to reassure the street, D. Part of it's just going to be that new product cycles are going to maintain their margin forecast for the year, right? At least this year.
Yeah, and I think Blackwell is going to be incredibly important. I heard from, a CEO recently that due to the delays, they turned to another company, and it's really crucial that they can get it out this year and really, in action. So there's a lot at stake for the company, and it will be very interesting to hear how he threads that needle next week.
Yeah, getting defended today over at B of A, reiterates a buy 200.
NVIDIA's stock has fallen 27% in the last 3 weeks, but it is currently trying to recover. A few of Wall Street bulls believe that the AI chipmaker's stock is now trading at an attractive value. NVIDIA's shares fell to a 6-month low of 104.77 on Tuesday before recovering sharply. On Tuesday, it closed at 108.76, up 1.7% on the day. NVIDIA's stock increased 6.4% today, closing at 115.74. On Wednesday, Buffett Securities restated its buy rating and $200 price target for NVIDIA stock. NVIDIA is selling at a very favorable price ahead of its major GPU tech conference, or GTC, next week, according to a client letter. To stay informed about the latest developments from NVIDIA and the ever-changing stock market, consider subscribing to our investing tutorial channel. We provide daily updates on significant market shifts and key catalysts, so hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss crucial information. We'd love to hear your thoughts on NVIDIA stock, so please share your opinions in the comments below. Now let's dive into today's video.
But it really strains the mind to say, okay, these companies aren't going to grow anymore, because in fact, what we are seeing is that they continue to deliver double-digit growth. I mean, we added to Tesla and NVIDIA on Monday, both names for different reasons. But NVIDIA is growing this fiscal year at 50% and is trading at 26 times. So on a price earnings to growth basis, that ratio basis, that's the kind of company that we want to own in a decelerating growth environment. I don't want to be overweight consumer staples at 22 to 25 times next year's earnings, and they're growing in the mid to low single digits. So I think this is one of those opportunities.
NVIDIA is expected to present updates on its next generation networking technology, as well as the Blackwell Ultra and Rubin CPUs at the conference. Long-term prospects for robotics, physical AI, autonomous cars, and quantum computing will also be discussed. Daniel Ives, an analyst at Wedbush Securities, recommended investors to think long-term when selecting companies tied to the artificial intelligence megatrend. In a client email on Wednesday, Ives wrote that our bullish calls on NVIDIA and several of the Mag 7 had been reversed this year. Our stock calls, however, are not for the coming months, though they are, but for the next 1, 3, and 5 years, when we anticipate seeing these tech names. As investors focus on the AI revolution and the massive tech spending that lies ahead, Dan Ives stated that next week's GTC conference could be a game changer for tech stocks. Aaron Rakers, an analyst at Wells Fargo Securities, maintained his buy or overweight rating on NVIDIA stock on Tuesday, with a price target of 185. He claimed in a client note that the market turmoil caused by the Trump administration's actions had made it possible to buy NVIDIA stock. GTC 2025 must arrive soon, according to Rakers. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
Cash, we've been selectively putting our toe in the water. Names that we're adding are names like NVIDIA. We've been adding NVIDIA on this re-rating because it's become meaningfully more attractive from a price standpoint.
Look, I don't think anybody's crazy enough to stop the supply chain for semiconductor chips. And I don't think there'll be heavy tariffs on it, particularly when they talk about investing. But They've got a queue that are people waiting for capacity. We hear NVIDIA talk about that all the time. So to me, this stock is very undervalued here.
19
That's why I bought more.
times.
Yeah. And I don't see, by the way, I don't see where NVIDIA is trading at 19 times next year.
Yeah.
It's still significant.
It's
like
24.
25.
Yeah, but he was talking about
Next year, I'm talking
26.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You know, these guys.
We've seen the markets come back in, and I have to tell you, we were buying some yesterday because now you see NVIDIA at 18 or 19 times next year's earnings. Now you're getting paid.
Well, they weren't the only ones, obviously. Christina Partsinevelos joins us now. I'm looking at a lot of these names. Broadcom, Micron, you can go on and talk about more broadly, too. But at some point, this was going to become a buy. Whether it's a lasting one or not, who knows?
Yeah, especially when you talk about valuations, NVIDIA trading, well, yesterday it was at 24 times when you had it, just a few weeks ago at 29 times. So some say it's a big bargain. But to your point, the SMH is finally breaking its losing streak. It's heading up, and after down 2 days, last 2 days, but I don't want you to get too excited yet, as it's still looking at its fourth weekly drop in a row, to your point. So how long is this going to last? The SMH does track NVIDIA more closely than the SOX does. We often talk about both as chip barometers, and so that's why you'll usually see the SMH and NVIDIA move in tandem, or the SMH move higher when NVIDIA is higher. And speaking of NVIDIA, to your point, there was a story I want to focus on. Reuters today putting out that TSMC pitched NVIDIA, AMD, and Broadcom on teaming up with Intel for a foundry joint venture. This isn't exactly breaking news, so let me explain. These rumors have just been going on since mid-February. Even DigiTimes out of Taiwan was talking about Taiwan Semiconductor actually joining forces with some U.S. chip designer. The interesting part is that today's report from Reuters mentioned this pitch happened before TSMC announced that massive $100 billion U.S. investment on March 3rd. You're seeing a headline on your screen right now. But so realistically, this deal might be a little less likely now that TSMC is already committing so much money to the United States and their expansion. Still, word is that talks haven't completely died yet, and that's why you're seeing so many of these names higher today. And of course, just people snapping up the chips because they've been lower on valuations, and earnings have been strong, Scott.
NVIDIA has built no significant language models. It does not develop video game franchises. It also does not produce self-driving automobiles or humanoid robots. NVIDIA creates the computer hardware technologies necessary for these pursuits. Businesses from throughout the world are investing in these programs. NVIDIA has been and will continue to be a leading provider of computing power for these technologies. It should remain at the forefront as businesses continue to evolve and innovate with a product portfolio that includes hardware, software, and other capabilities. However, it is not the primary reason driving NVIDIA's stock upward over the next 5 years. When others are terrified, become avaricious. A stock market correction may be the best friend of long-term investors. Since its closing high of 20,174 on December 16th, the Nasdaq Composite Index has entered correction territory. NVIDIA's stock has fallen by more than 20% this year as a result of the market slump. Big organizations are investing hundreds of billions of dollars in AI infrastructure, which is one of the primary reasons NVIDIA earned more than $130 billion last year.